Let's talk about wardrobe and tech interviews, because someone else left a comment that said, you're wearing a hoodie in an interview, and she was like cringing at me doing that. And she was talking about how her husband always wears a suit in his PM interviews. And I don't take offense to any of those comments or questions. I think this is the space where we can have these type of conversations, because there's the people that simply don't know, there's the people that are inquiring, there's different perspectives. And so let's chop it up. I got my first tattoo at 16 years old, and it's pretty huge, and I still have it, so it's never getting removed. And I remember getting that tattoo, and the first thing my mom said was, you better put on pants. And it wasn't I'm trying to control what you're wearing, but I am a millennial raised by boomers. And one of the things that was always ingrained in us was, depending on where you're going, there's a certain way in which you have to show up. So what we wear to the beach, to the mall, to a family member's house, to a funeral, to a church, all that is different attire. You get what I'm saying? And we subscribe to it and understood like that's just the way things were. And we had no problem with it. And at 16, I also got my first job. So my mom knew that I was interviewing, and she was like, make sure you put on pants, because you don't want to walk in and now they're looking at you like a young kid with a tattoo that's a troublemaker. And the whole time you are, an honors gifted AP type of student. They don't know that. They just see a black kid with some tattoos on that's young. And so from that moment on, even for those interviews, I would wear slacks and a button-down shirt. And I think for that specific interview, I had on pumps, like the little patent leather pumps. Y'all, I don't know what I was doing, but I got the job on the spot. So talk to me nice, okay? Then I made that my uniform to interviews, not the pumps. I swapped that out for some flats. That became my uniform for interviews up until I was about 18, 19, when I got another tattoo, my second tattoo, which is a half sleeve. Still have it. And because of that, my mom, of course, her first words were, you better put on a sweater. And because of that, that became my new wardrobe. I'm going to wear slacks, button down, and a sweater, because now I have a bigger tattoo in a spot where you will more than likely see it, because at least with my legs, you're not always looking down, but my arms, you're going to see that in an interview because I'm in person. And so she was like, don't get counted out, wear the sweater. So that became my uniform, and I did that till this day. Now, all my years as a project manager, and I would say that I've been doing project management work for 5.5 years now, I have done all that work remotely, virtually, online. So I've never had to go in person for an interview. And at the beginning of those interviews, those first few contracts and stuff like that, I would wear my button down and my sweater. I wouldn't wear the slacks because y'all can't see that. But I would wear that, and I was overdressed. Like, and mind you, I'm interviewing with team leads, senior leads, upper management, C-suite. I kid you not, people would show up in a Hanes white t-shirt. Like, I was so confused. So eventually I just stopped doing the button down part and I did the t-shirt, but I still wore the sweater, right? And if you go back and look at the video, you'll see that I showed clips from 2 interviews. And the second interview is where I have on a t-shirt, but I'm wearing a sweater over it. And I noticed that nobody batted an eye. Nobody said a thing when I switched up the attire. And I even asked my friends in tech that like worked in tech in person before like pandemic and all that type of stuff. And they were like, yeah, like it's real chill. Now, you know, some people might wear slacks and a t-shirt, or, you know, they might wear a collared shirt with some jeans or whatever. Maybe if they were doing like a major presentation with a client, they might get into the suit type of stuff. But the everyday, I learned, and what I was told is that it wasn't that intense for you to be that dressed up. And one of the things I like about being remote and doing those remote interviews is the fact that I control what you guys see in the camera frame. So in the video that this comment is from, you can see clearly what I'm wearing because I have the camera faced on me. But the interviewer literally only sees about this much of what I'm wearing because I don't need you to see my background or all that I got going on. I need you focused right here and let's get this conversation going. You know what I'm saying? I do that on purpose because I don't need you everywhere. I just need you right here focused on what I'm saying. And I obviously get those jobs because once we start talking, once you start getting the vibes and feels, you're not even worried about what I have on. Now, I know there's a lot of people that feel a different type of way about quote unquote respectability politics and wardrobe politics. I don't know what they call that. But if there's any piece of advice that I would say is to also be aware of the audience that you are interviewing with. There was a girl that went viral on here maybe a couple months ago. And she was obviously Gen Z, and she went to an in-person interview with shorts on, right? And her shorts were above her knee, but they weren't like super short shorts. They were above her knee, and I think they were like the same type of material that you would see if you were buying slacks, trousers, pants and stuff like that. And she went to the in-person interview, and the person asked her, whoever she was interviewing, asked her if she wanted to go home and change. And she came on here and kind of talked about how, she felt some type of way about that and all this, that, and the third. And the reality is, no, there wasn't anything wrong with what you were wearing. To your generation, your audience doesn't find anything wrong with that because there isn't. It's not inappropriate or nothing. But the audience you're interviewing with, they're not Gen Z. These are the millennials, the Gen X, the baby boomers. These are older generations that probably operate with those respectability politics. And so if you want the job at their company or that they're interviewing for, you have to play their game. Like, you need to show up that way. And that's what I was doing. All my years since I was 16, I played their game, right? And then once I got into the remote environment, I realized that I'm playing their game and they're not even playing it. Like, they don't care about the attire. And in the same video that this comment is from, you saw that my first interview, I had on a crew neck, right? So I still covered my arms, but they didn't even get to see all of the crew neck in the interview. But nonetheless, I was too busy making you feel the vibes. I was too busy making you know and understand that I can do the job, that this didn't matter. In person, it's different. It's not that easy to do that because they watch you come in, right? They're paying attention to everything. So they have time to kind of clock like, oh, this is how you showing up? Yeah, I'm not even about to take you serious. And that's before you even spoke. But in a remote environment, the dynamics are different. So all in all, I would say show up as your best self and be mindful of the audience that you'll be interviewing with. How do you know what audience you're interviewing with? When interviews are scheduled, especially remotely, you know who you're interviewing with. Like, go find them on LinkedIn. Do they look like they're the older heads? If they do, be a little more polished. You feel me? Until you at least get the job, because that was the thing. When I tell y'all that my interview attire was me wearing slacks and me wearing the sweaters, that was just for the interview. Once I got the job, baby,
mask off. Yeah,
that mask off. The real me is here now. Okay, y'all, what you gonna do? Kick me out because of the tattoo? Well, that wasn't in your policies. That wasn't in your code of conduct and stuff like that. So don't start discriminating now. You feel me? Play their game. So I hope that you guys find this conversation, interesting. And I also want to hear y'all take on what y'all think when it comes to how you show up in interviews. I do think that the more we indulge in virtual interviews, the less formal you'll see people dressed. But I'll tell you right now, if I get asked to go to an in-person meeting, what am I have on? Those slacks, that button down, and a sweater. Because in person, I'm never going to give you an opportunity to count me out. Virtually,